Hi, I'm Roberta Karpinecz, the Acting Executive Director of Keep Middlesex Moving. Welcome to this episode of Mobility Matters. Today, in a nod to Women's History Month, I'm talking with the women who lead New Jersey's transportation management associations. There are 8 TMAs and 5 of them are headed by women. Joining me today are Rhonda Urkowitz of Cross County Connection. Her TMA covers Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Cape May, Cumberland, Gloucester, and Salem counties. Rhonda covers the largest service area in New Jersey. Also joining is Tara Shepherd of GoHunterdon, covering Hunterdon County, Cheryl Kastrenakes of Greater Mercer TMA, covering Mercer and Ocean counties, and Donna Allison of RideWise, covering my home county of Somerset. Welcome all. I'm so glad you could join us. It struck me that we've all worked together for so many years, and yet I think this is the first time we're having sort of a roundtable discussion, and I'm glad we could do it. You probably are often asked, as I am, what exactly does a TMA do? And the short answer is a lot, but that doesn't really tell our listeners very much. So I thought maybe we could just talk about some of the specific projects our TMAs are working on. And Rhonda, I know your group has installed the Complete Streets demonstration project. And what is Complete Streets? What's a demonstration project? And why is it important?
Okay. Well, thanks, Roberta. I'm happy to be here. And I'm really happy to share with you our Complete Streets demonstration project because it's something that we recently completed and I'm very proud of. My staff did an awesome job on this. So Complete Streets is the idea that our streets belong to all users. It doesn't matter your age or your ability. Streets belong to all of us, not just motorists. So Complete Streets tries to make roadways safer for pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users, people using mobility devices, even kids using skateboards. So to make our streets safer, certain infrastructure improvements are needed. Often they are quick and inexpensive fixes. To see how these improvements will work, TMAs typically set up demonstration projects using temporary materials to mimic the impact of permanent infrastructure improvements. So this past fall, Cross County Connection set up a Complete Streets demonstration in Voorhees Township, which is a suburban community of Camden County. We chose a residential neighborhood located between the Voorhees Town Center, which is a large mixed-use commercial, retail, and residential development, and a train station of the Patco High-Speed Line, which provides service for commuters into Philadelphia. We chose this area because motorists use this neighborhood to as a cut through to reach the train station, as well as to avoid traffic congestion on 2 arterial roads. So the neighborhood has a big problem with speeding, distracted driving. There's also an elementary school, so we have kids walking, biking. So using temporary materials, we made changes to the existing roads to slow down traffic and make pedestrians and bicyclists more visible. Some of the things we did was we made temporary bike lanes by using paint, stencils, reflective tape, and signage. These materials alerted motorists to bicyclists and showed bicyclists where they were supposed to ride. We also used hay bales and straw wattle to create roundabouts, which are small circles, and curb bump outs. The roundabouts served to slow down cars traveling through the neighborhood, and the curb bump outs prevented cars from parking at corners, so pedestrians, when crossing the street, would be able to see cars approaching them. All of these materials narrowed the roadways at the intersections and which forced motorists to slow down. The temporary improvements were extremely successful. Resident feedback from surveys indicated that most residents wanted some of the temporary fixes to become permanent, and we're currently working with the township to make some of these improvements become reality. So it was a very inexpensive way to show a neighborhood what kind of changes could be made to improve the quality of life in their neighborhood.
Rhonda, was there anything in particular the neighbors didn't like? What did they like?
Some of the neighbors balked when they realized that some of our curb extensions were taking up their parking space. Mm-hmm. even though they all have driveways, two car driveways. So, but once they saw the benefits and they saw that their children were able to walk and bike more safely, they came around. We actually had a school crossing guard who was so supportive of the project, and she actually talked to some of the residents about how great the program was for their children.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. We have not done any temporary projects yet in Middlesex County, but we will be getting around to it. As you know, obviously, one of the things that we focus on is transportation, and all of us probably started out with rideshare matching, but I think Cheryl, Greater Mercer's taken it to the next level with Ride Provide, where you're actually providing rides to people. So would you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I would love to. So Ride Provide is a transportation program that we have at Greater Mercer TMA, which we've been running now for actually almost 18 years. It is, I actually truly call it a labor of love, because the program is just that rewarding. The way the program works, it is a transportation program for senior citizens or older adults, 65 and older, and visually impaired adults of any age. So there's multiple options within the program. We are the service providers for some communities that choose to subsidize costs of rides. There's the overall Ride Provide program where people can go anywhere. It's within Mercer County and Plainsboro and the southern portion of Montgomery Township. But we also have relationships with some of the hospitals in the area, both Penn Medicine and RWJ Hamilton, where they are picking up the cost of rides. And that really highlights just how important it is to have programs like this, because I think for so long people have thought of, that it's your health that impacts your transportation, but lack of transportation is what really can impact your health. It is so necessary. If someone can't make their appointment, if they can't follow up on their physical therapy, get to the chemotherapy, I mean, these are things that impact your health. Or it's something that may start out as just, an acute issue becomes a chronic problem. Instead of catching, diabetes before an amputation is needed, people are getting to the services they need to have. But it's not just about health transportation. And we take people, to get to the hairdresser every week, to get their nails done. I'm a firm believer, I think people look good, feel good. That's a big part of it. We take people to recreational things, out to lunch. So there's a lot of aspects to it. It's been really rewarding because we take so many different people. We've come to really recognize rich or poor. Sometimes people have to give up driving, or they choose not to for economical reasons or environmental reasons, but you need to have that option there. It's really, really important for older adults to have this, because if they stay connected to their community, they're going to lead a better, more fulfilling life and remain healthier. They've shown that social isolation, which is what you get when you can't get out and about, is probably the leading indicator of premature death. So being able to revive this program feels really rewarding, and we're glad we've had the opportunity to do so.
Cheryl, do you have an idea of how many rides you may have provided over the years? Not to put you on the spot, but.
Well, I can tell you, I can't add up over the years, but I know that at our peak, just at COVID, we were giving a little over 19,000 trips during the year. Okay. Last year was probably about closer to 14 or 15, hasn't quite gotten to the pre-COVID level. People are a little more selective still about where they choose to go. So we have found that our percentage of medical trips has increased to, it used to be maybe like 60 to 70% of the rides. Now it's probably closer to 80%, because I think the recreational trips have still not quite peaked to the same level.
That's great. It is so important. I'm getting ready to retire, and people are saying, what are you going to do? And I keep saying, well, I'm not going to be sitting in the house all day. Fortunately, I, still driving and getting around. So that
makes a big difference. It really does.
So,
and I say one of the reasons I think the program has worked as well as it does is because of the incredibly caring drivers that we have, and I thought of that to mention, not that they aren't incredibly helpful and wonderful for the program, but many of them are started out as young retirees that were looking to do something that they felt was a rewarding job.
That's great. And another way of commuting, a lot of people still are taking the bus, they're driving, they're walking, but Donna, you've got a program for bicyclists. Your Bike Connect program, you actually connect people with bikes. How does that work in Somerset County?
Bike Connect was actually born out of the pandemic when transportation shut down and individuals in the area still needed to travel. And we came up with the idea to create a rehabilitation program. There are others in the area. There's one in New Brunswick. There's one in Princeton, I believe, but there's nothing in Somerset County. So the program is a partnership with our funder, NJTPA, and also Pop's Bicycle Shop in Somerville, where we collect bicycle donations from the community, gently used bikes, and Pop's Bike Shop will repair them. And then we provide them to individuals, residents in the community who are referred by local nonprofit organizations. Since the program kicked off in July of 2021, we've had 57 clients receive bicycles and close to 80 bicycle donations. Not every donation results in a bike being awarded to somebody. We don't always get the best bicycles, but it's been going very well. We awarded our 50th bicycle this past fall. The success of the program is really not measured in the referrals or in the number of clients, but it's really in the success stories. And one individual talked to us about how the program was life-changing for him. He said he was newly homeless, and our program was able to get him back on his feet. And when he did get back on his feet, he was able to be reunited with his son, and then he paid it forward by giving his bicycle to somebody else to help them.
So if someone wants to donate a bike, do they just contact you directly or through your website?
Yep, they can
Do they bring
contact.
it to you, or do you go pick it up?
We ask that they bring it to the office or that they bring it to Pop's Bike Shop. Pops will take them at any time whenever he's open, which is really, I think, 7 days a week.
Mhm.
All I have to do is contact the agency staff at ridewise.org at our email or go to our website. And there's more information on the website as to how you can donate a bike.
The other leg of commutation is walking. We all have active pedestrian safety programs, but I know, Tara, you've got a phenomenal Safe Routes to School program for children. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Thanks, Roberta. So happy to be here with everyone today. The Safe Routes to School program is a federal program that's administered here in New Jersey through the New Jersey Department of Transportation. The program is relatively simple. It has two simple goals: where it's safe, get more kids walking and bicycling, and where it's not safe, make it safe. And so the first part of that is really about education and encouragement. And that's in those schools that are walking districts where busing is not provided because they are usually small districts, or in districts where some students are bused and some students are walking. We provide the encouragement to get kids and their families and often teachers to walk to school on a regular basis. And that usually happens as part of something called the walking school bus. And the walking school bus is really just a designated route chaperoned by adults along a walking route through the neighborhood. Students and their families will sort of be picked up along the way, and everyone can walk to school together. In some cases, children are also riding their bikes along with the walking. It's just a wonderful opportunity to make walking a part of the student's day. And by having the group all together, it provides parents and guardians with the added comfort that their student is not walking alone. Of course, it's very important that we make sure that these students know the safety behaviors so that when they're walking, they are safe. And so, like many of the TMAs, we go into the schools and we make presentations. They are usually highly interactive, where we will bring mock crosswalks and sidewalks. We have GoHunterdon developed a program and a presentation about backing up cars. We have a sort of a mock rear bumper of a car where the red lights are showing and the white backup lights. And we engage the kids in that way to role play about their walk to school. And so it's been very successful. The TMAs have been doing this program for many, many years. It is quite successful and it's very well received. And it can be a multi-generational program. We often have, as I said, we often have the elementary and intermediate school age students. We have parents, we have guardians, oftentimes grandparents will be walking along with the children. So it can be very informative and engaging for everybody.
Thank you, Tara. You also have a very good recognition program. I know you're constantly awarding schools and people, recognizing them for the work that they put into it. And I think it's important for our listeners to know that all of the things we've talked about are free. Our organizations are nonprofit organizations, and so the services we provide come without a fee. All of us do educational projects, and right now KMM is working on an educational program. We're having a micromobility conference on April the 11th. We will be exploring what is micromobility, safety and equity issues, infrastructure, policy and programming issues, and grants, most importantly, because a lot of these micromobility programs could use grants for a bit of a boost. But I think what may entice people the most is we'll actually be having e-scooters, e-bikes for test drives. The conference will be at our partners location, the St. Peter's University Hospital in New Brunswick, and the test driving will be across the street. So that's another aspect of what TMAs do, that I think we provide a very important service in all of the things that we do. I thought maybe we talk a little bit about ourselves. I would like to do that. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I never said, "Oh, Mom, I can't wait to be the executive director of a TMA." You did not as well. My path to the TMA, I had been working in marketing for a book wholesaler. I had been working as a political pollster and a political campaign consultant. I had always been interested in public service, and I got a call one day from a friend of mine. This was really one of those friend of a friend referrals. And my friend said, "This gal was telling me about this job at some kind of TMA. I have no interest in it whatsoever, but I bet you would love it." So I interviewed with the then executive director, Peter Cantu, and we just clicked. And my work at the TMA really has combined my background in marketing and polling and in public service. So that's how I got here. I certainly knew nothing about this before I started 34 years ago. Do any of you have similar stories you'd like to share? Cheryl, I know you're a professional planner, as are you, right, Rhonda? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I probably am one of the longest, along with Rhonda, who my interest, I don't know that I certainly didn't start out saying I want to work at a TMA. I wasn't familiar with the Transportation Management Association, certainly when I started school, but my educational background definitely applies. I did start out studying economics, thinking I was going to be actually more business, thinking I was going to be a business major, but it was those economics classes that I think sort of more strongly developed my interest, knowing I wanted to do something that was sort of socially relevant, public service related. Still didn't know exactly what that plan for that was, what that was going to look like. I just knew that I was taking classes of great interest, that corporate finance didn't interest me, but economics of inequality and discrimination and environmental economics were the things that were more of an interest to me. And it wasn't until I had a class my senior year of college where the professor stated that he had been an urban planner before he started teaching. Wait, that's a thing? That's a profession? It was this light bulb moment. And I thought, oh, I found the connection between economics and something that I can actually apply. And from there, I chose to go to grad school, study city and regional planning. And I always knew the transportation, though, would be my focus on it. So that was sort of my path into transportation planning.
And here you are today. Now, where were you? You've been at the TMA, what, 25 years or so?
Not that long. I think it's been 18, 19 years now or something. But I did work at New Jersey Transit, started out doing transit planning there. I was always interested in that. And that was a really positive and great experience. And
Rhonda, you too, you're a professional planner, right?
Correct. Yeah. My path to the TMA was similar to Cheryl's. I was in college and I took a course in urban sociology just because it sounded interesting. Had no idea what it was. Really loved the whole concepts of sociology, urban planning, history of cities, and so forth. And I ultimately wound up with degrees in urban and regional planning. And I was working for regional planning organization in Philadelphia, when the concept of trip reduction, trying to get people out of their cars and into sustainable transportation was just getting off the ground on the East Coast. On the West Coast, TMAs were being formed and had been in existence for a few years, but the concept was still new in our area. So I decided to do my master's thesis on trip reduction.
Oh.
And I learned that there was a organization, a TMA, that had just started working in South Jersey. It was in my backyard. I'm from South Jersey. So I interviewed the TMA staff as well as the township staff that worked with the TMA as part of my thesis. And one thing led to the other. I really liked what they were doing. I liked the grassroots work that they did, and they offered me a position. My colleagues at the time told me I was crazy for leaving. They said that TMAs in New Jersey will be defunct in, a few years. So I looked at this as, well, maybe it'll just be a temporary job and I'll see where it goes. Well, fast forward 30 years later, TMAs are thriving in New Jersey, and I'm still with Cross County Connection and enjoying every minute of it.
Well, when I was first hired, Peter Cantu, our executive director, said, "Now don't get too excited about this, because the whole program is funded by grants, as all of our programs are grant funded. Don't get too excited about it, because if the grant gets pulled, the organization's going to go away." And you're right, here we are 30 some years later, still operating. Tara, do you have a story for us?
Well, I'm not a professional planner, but I've told people that I've made a 35-year career out of jobs no one's ever heard of. And I think that the TMA world just is the longest that I've had. I've been at GoHunterdon for 25 years this June. Educationally, my background, I have a bachelor's in political science and English, and I went right into the quasi-governmental roles working for the Economic Development Agency in the city of Elizabeth. And then I went on to work as a downtown improvement district director in Milburn Township. I think that the through line for all of these really is community development. And it's really about relationship building and connecting people and bringing people together around common goals. And I think that's a big part of what we do every day at the TMA, is that we kind of serve as facilitators, as implementers. Our programming is so vast that we touch on so many different sectors of our communities that we are often the go-to people on knowing between what a municipality is doing and a school is doing and a business is doing. And we just sort of become that hub of information. And I think that makes us quite valuable. And I think that's kind of a uniquely female skill set.
Yes. Donna, what about you?
Well, my path to RideWise was definitely not intentional. I had spent several years working for local branches of a couple of nationally recognized nonprofits. And it was when I was working with one of these groups that I was contacted by the executive director of RideWise at the time, Susan Schwartz, who's a name that only you remember, Roberta.
Yes.
And she had actually been given my resume by someone else at another organization where I must have applied for a job at some point. I don't even really remember. And she reached out to me and I interviewed with her, and I was intrigued by the job. It sounded like it was very diverse. I wouldn't be doing the same thing day in and day out. And this past Valentine's Day, I've celebrated 27 years at RideWise. And Roberta, you were one of the first people that I met, I think, at a marketing or a TMA meeting at the RideWise offices at the time.
Wow. What's great about our organizations is the opportunities are really boundless. You didn't need to be in transportation or in marketing, or as Tara, I think you put it very eloquently, it all kind of comes together. I'm wondering along the way, because these are tough decisions to make. If you're on a career path and somebody says, "Hey, come to this TMA," did you have any mentors, people that kind of nudged you along or encouraged you to take the risk? I know when I think back on my career, I know that I have two mentors, and one of them you all know, Mayor Peter Cantu, who was our first executive director. Tara and I were just talking about this about a week ago, and she said, Roberta, the one thing you always do is say, okay, what exactly is it that you want us to do? Let's get to the point. And I have to say, I learned that from Peter Cantu. Those of you who knew him knew he could be a little impatient. And I always knew when he started tapping his pen, it was coming, okay, all of this conversation is great, but what's the goal? What do you want done? When do you want us to do it? And I think for me, that was very valuable. And I know it's annoying to people for me to say, okay, just what's the point? But it moves things along. So I learned from Peter how to get to the point, I think, and how to lead an organization, which is really important as well. I also had a woman mentor, a political woman in Hunterdon County, actually, who mentored me along. And what she taught me, and I know this doesn't sound really important, she taught me how to do a mailing, because there's an orderliness to it. You fold the letter, put it in the envelope, and it's like a little system. But that has served me well in life, understanding that there are good ways and bad ways to accomplish certain goals. So kudos to the late Elaine Hand for teaching me how to do a mailing and how to get things organized. But anybody else? Did any of you have any mentors that pushed you along the way?
I don't know specifically to get me directly into the TMA, but I think of two people. One is actually going back to undergraduate. I had a wonderful professor, Joseph Seneca. He was fantastic, and I had him for Intro to Micro my first semester freshman year, and he really piqued my interest in economics. And I think for that reason, I continued. There's no doubt that I continued through and took him for every course I could, and managed to find classes that I really enjoyed, which continued to generate my interest in doing the social, the public service, socially relevant type of work I wanted to do, and just the value of research and learning how to do it and doing independent study. And then when I worked in New Jersey Transit, the first person, Jeff Supan, who was the director of planning at the time, a very intelligent man, wonderful, smart, extremely knowledgeable about transit planning, and just a genuine interest in urban planning in general, and just, working with him, having the opportunity to work on projects that were assigned to me, certainly has served me very, very well. And all while being a very kind and nice person to be able to work with. So certainly learned a lot from that experience too. And actually, I want to mention one other thing, because we are talking about women in transportation.
Yes.
After New Jersey Transit, I had a break where I was working as a substitute teacher because I took time with my children after I had kids. So I think that's a sort of a valuable thing to mention during a podcast where we're talking about women, that was something I chose to do. And honestly, I learned a lot about management from being a substitute teacher, because you can tell while you're subbing which teachers taught the classroom in those early weeks of school, that this is what you do when you come in. This is, there's an orderliness, and those classes were run a different way. And I learned a lot from that. And honestly, public speaking too, because you know what? You're up there talking in front of kids every day. And not every day, it's a part-time position, and they'll be brutally honest. So you know what, you have an opportunity to get up and talk. So that was also, you never know where learning and inspiration can come from. And that was also a good time for me. Obviously, I wanted to continue on with planning, but it was also relevant and important.
Anybody else?
First real job at the Red Cross, I had a mentor. She was sort of part mentor, part mom. And she guided me in how to act, how to dress, how to be professional. And then again at RideWise, my mentor was Mike Kerwin for many years,
yes.
As the president of the business partnership, who we share space with. And he was always, good with advice. Don't complain, be a problem solver, know when to listen and when to speak up, don't react. Those are all key pieces of advice that he gave me. And it's the jobs where I had a mentor that I have stayed the longest in. That's really made a difference.
I know Mike well, and you've described him exactly on target. Yeah. He's kind of like Peter Cantu, get to the point and move on. Rhonda, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I've had many mentors along the way, but the one that stands out for me the most, and I think helped build my leadership skills was a mentor I had on one of my very first jobs out of school, a woman named Lynn. We worked for a very small economic development consulting firm in Des Moines, Iowa. Our clients were industrial and commercial developers, extremely male-dominated field. Lynn and I were always the only only women in the room. I was intimidated. I had trouble dealing with these men and making my voice heard. And she told me that what she taught me was that it does not matter how smart you are or how great your ideas are if others, especially the decision makers in the room, do not recognize your voice. And that has always resonated with me. And she helped me build my confidence in myself and provided me with the leadership ability to make my voice heard, which is so important. And if you can't have your voice heard, then you can't be successful. And that has always been with me throughout my entire career.
Speak louder than everybody else. Talk
Exactly.
over people, right?
Right. Look them in the eye.
Yep. What about you, Tara?
Well, the mentor that resonates, I think, when I think about it the most is the executive director at the Economic Development Agency in Elizabeth. It was my first job out of college, again, like Rhonda. And, you're new to the workforce. And when I think back now, 3 decades later, he was really ahead of his time because he really humanized his work. And, today we talk a lot about work-life balance, and we talk about, people being able to have a personal life. And he was ahead of his time on all of that. And he genuinely would care about people. He would ask you about, how was your weekend and how was your day or what's happening with you? And those were conversations that weren't happening 30 years ago. And he did that with the staff a lot. And I observed that. And I think he also taught me, though, as personal as he was in his approach, we were also a grant-funded agency. And I learned right then and there about the accountability of having this public money and understanding that you have sort of made a commitment to be good stewards of this money. And certainly over the years, in all of my positions, being able to be accountable and have a commitment to those funds has been very important. And I know it's important for all of us to have that kind of accountability and to respect that responsibility.
Right. So I think we're kind of getting ready to wrap it up, and I want to just kind of go back to the idea that we're in Women's History Month, and I think we have just a little bit of an opportunity right now to perhaps mentor somebody who may be listening. So I'm wondering if you were giving a young woman advice today about a career, what might you tell her? I'm thinking that just listening to all of our stories, I'm thinking for me, I would say be open to possibilities, because you may be going in one direction and then something pops up and you have to be open to the idea to try to understand how your skills might fit in a totally different path. That would be what I would tell someone.
I think women today have so many opportunities and so many doors that are open to them. And I would encourage all of our listeners to go through those doors. Even if you don't think a career or the job opportunity may be a good fit. But I would encourage people to talk to those who are in the field and gain knowledge. Do your homework, do research on the person that you're reaching out to, on their firm, on the job that they do. And I have found that most people will be willing to talk to people coming right out of school, give them advice and help and so forth.
I would say build relationships, maintain relationships, and be passionate about your work. I think all of us, we are passionate about our work. Cheryl mentioned her Ride Provide program. We have GoHunterdon has some programs that I'm very proud of. I'm proud of all of our work, but if you're not passionate about the work that you do, it's just a job. And I think all of us look to have more than just a job. We want to have work that is meaningful. And I'll often say to people that I think it is a gift to be able to see our work. In the TMA world, we have the ability to see our work every day. whether it's a crosswalk improvement, it's kids walking to school. It could be anything that we work on. It's the community bus system that has new routes. Whatever we're involved in, we get to see that on any given basis, on any given day. And I don't know that everyone gets the benefit of seeing the results of their work in the way that we do in the TMA world.
I think that's true. Yeah, I mean, Rhonda with her demonstration projects, you see the kids walking to school, Donna's handing out bikes, Cheryl's getting a senior citizen out of their home and doing something active. So, yep, we do see it every day. Donna, did you have any advice?
Yeah, to complement what Tara has said, don't worry about what other people think. Do what you want to do. And above all, be passionate about it. And also don't settle. If something's not to your liking, know when to walk away. I had an early experience in my role as executive director before I was executive director, where I was given the choice to serve as the interim executive director while continuing to do the job that I'd been hired to do at the same salary. And there was no there for me. So I didn't accept it. And so don't accept what's given to you. Know your voice, stand up for yourself, understand how to negotiate. If you just take what's given to you, you're going to get more of the same in your career path.
You have to take responsibility for yourself. Yes, absolutely. How about you, Cheryl?
My first thing is always to say that you should find the thing that you're passionate about, or something that you have a genuine interest in, that doing what others expect of you, or what, maybe something that your parents think you should be, or whoever somebody else thinks you should be, should not be the way to follow it. You need to follow your heart, do what you feel is passionate. It may take a little exploring to be able to do that, but that's really the best way to do it. Because I've said before, and it's an old cliche, but like, it's great to go to work every day and not to never have a day where you think another day, another dollar. I mean, this is more than that, because we do feel like we're making a difference. And it doesn't necessarily have to be public service. I think if your interest and your passion is, if you love accounting or love, finance or whatever it is, if it's something you like and you're good at, that's what you should pursue. You need to search for what resonates with you. For all of us, and I know certainly for me, making a difference in transportation matters. I mean, because we see, and whether through lived experience or just from watching others, that not having access to transportation, not being able to get to a job, seeing people driving too much and having congestion and impacting air quality, we know it makes a difference. And to be able to be part of that is truly rewarding.
Is there anything any of you would like to add? Something maybe that's going to be happening in your TMA, an activity, or something you'd like let people know about?
Yeah, I can chime in here. RideWise is having a bike drive in April to coincide with Earth Day. We're hoping to collect a number of bikes. We have a number of clients in need of bikes. So we're having a bike drive at Pops on Saturday, April 20th,
Nice.
the actual Earth Day, from 1:30 to 5:30. And also Monday, the 22nd, from 11 to 2 on those 2 days.
Oh, that's great. I know we've got a number of bike rodeos planned. Our team's going to be putting together sort of a lunchtime video of bicycle safety, but from a driver's point of view, from a motorist's point of view. So that, I know, something that Arlene and Chris and Delphina are working on for Earth Day coming up. Anything else, Cheryl? You have anything?
We have a number of community events coming up with bike rodeos, community tabling events. There's a lot happening, a number of events. Spring is always a busy time. And our bike month. We're actually brought back Bike Month again this year for the first time, to truly bring it back since the pandemic, because enough people seem to be back in the office that we can both do bike to work and bike to food and friends, as we call it. This is where you substitute errands with bike rides instead of car rides. So that'll be launching online at the beginning of May, or excuse me, the beginning of April. Will be launching to register for May.
We just finished our bookmark contest for 3rd and 5th graders. I think Delphina had over 300 entries. So
Fantastic.
That was exciting, that so many people participated this year, and the kids love it. So we're happy to do that. Tara, you have anything on tap?
Yeah, like everyone else, the spring is a really busy time. So we have lots of walk events planned. We'll be back out with a lot of our safety programs. We have a program where we will provide municipalities with the in-street stop for pedestrian signs. So spring is when we start distributing those to local police departments. We'll be reactivating our speed study program. We are also going to start responding to more inquiries that we're getting to provide municipalities with crash data. So we'll be working on all of that. And as Cheryl said, lots of tabling events, green fairs are coming up, a lot of community day events and so forth. So that's all on tap.
Okay. Rhonda, do you have anything?
We do. So we have a lot of field trips planned for the spring as part of our travel training program, where we are taking high school students as well as other individuals who are looking for jobs out in the field to teach them how to ride the bus and the train. And we do this as part of our travel training program, along with in-classroom training. We have a program where we customize it based on where the students are traveling to and from. And we teach them how to use the bus, how to read a train schedule, bus schedule. They learn about the different fare structure on New Jersey Transit, as well as PATCO, which is our high-speed train line. Lots of activity coming up now that the weather's turning nice, as well as our school activities for the younger students as well.
I have really enjoyed our conversation today, and I thank you so much for joining us. Our guests today on Mobility Matters have been Rhonda Urkowitz from Cross County Connection, Tara Shepherd from GoHunterdon, Cheryl Kastrenakes from Greater Mercer TMA, and Donna Allison from RideWise, the women leading New Jersey's TMAs. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
This ad is disseminated under the sponsorship of NJTPA and FHWA in the interest of information exchange.